Hey boys and girls, today in math we're going to cover lesson 8.8, solving inequalities. Our learning goal today is that I will write and solve inequalities. Okay, so the success rate criteria, how we're going to do this is pretty straightforward. I'm going to just kind of generalize what it is. Mainly we're going to take an inequality and we're going to make an equivalent inequality. We're just going to change it a little bit. And the goal here is to have only one variable on a side of an inequality. And the way we're going to do that is by using addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. This is going to be very similar to what we did in chapter 6, solving equations, but instead of an equal sign, we'll have an inequality sign. Alright, so if you have your notes, go ahead and get them out in front of you. Please make sure you put your name, today's date, and what class you were in. That way I can get you graded and make sure you get credit for what you did. Alright, so the first thing we're going to talk about is in example 1, solving inequalities using addition or subtraction. So I'm going to zoom in here. The first thing we see is, here is our equation. X minus 3 is greater than 1. Now we're going to set this up exactly like we did with an equal, like an equation, when it was x minus 3 equals 1. We're going to draw just a line down the middle. To balance out, we have x minus 3 on one side and we have 1 on the other side. Now remember, we asked ourselves 3 questions. First question is, what is my variable? In this equation, it is x. Okay. Second question is, what is happening to my variable? Well, right now we are minusing 3. So to undo the minus 3, the third question is, what is the opposite of subtracting 3? And so we will go ahead and we will add. Sorry, my screen's moving on me. We will add 3 to both sides of the equal sign. When we do that, the 3's cancel out. Subtracting 3 and adding 3 gets you back to the original spot. So we're left with only x, and 1 plus 3 is 4. Now, when I go, ooh, I don't want that, I want this. I'm going to erase this just a little bit. Now this is not a rule in math, but this is my strategy, is I always circle the inequality and make sure I copy it right. So we have x is greater than 4. So that is how we simplified x minus 3 is greater than 1. It's the same as saying x is greater than 4. Now to graph it, we practice that in 8.7. We know it's an open dot because it's only greater than. And then I say, okay, I need a number greater than 4. How about 8? 8 is to the right. So I graph to the right. Alright, well, let's go to the next one. Ooh, I moved my picture. So this one says, graph or solve 15 is greater than or equal to 6 plus h. Graph the solution. Now, I'm going to do something real quick. Me personally, this is a strategy. I love when I read left to right to have my variable on the left. So I'm going to take my whole inequality and flip everything. So I'm going to start with h. We're still doing addition of 6. And my inequality has to flip in 15. Now once again, the only reason I did this is because I like having my variable on the left side of the equation. It's easier when I read. So make sure if you do that, you flip your inequality. Alright, so I'm going to draw my line down the middle. My variable is h. I'm adding 6 to my h. What's the opposite of adding 6? Is to subtract 6 on both sides. When I solve this, I will have 6 minus 6, so I'm left with h. 15 minus 6 is 9. My inequality I circle is less than or equal to. So, solving this inequality, we simplified it to h is less than or equal to 9. To graph, it will be a solid dot because it says or equal to. So I go to the number 9. We put a solid dot there. And then what is a number less than 9? 0. So that means we graph left. Alright, it is your opportunity to try it. So you're going to solve the inequalities and graph. I will help you with the graphing here in just a second because I got an easy tip for you. So let's try the number 1. What would you get when you solve x minus 2 is less than 3? Alright, so my variable was x. We were subtracting 2, so the opposite of subtracting 2 is let's add 2. So we do that to both sides of the equal sign, or our inequality, and we're left with x is less than 5. So this is our answer. Now to graph it, here's my tip. In the middle, I'm going to put what our answer is, 5. And then I can make my number line however I want. Maybe I make 3 tick marks and I count by ones, 5, 6, 7, 8. On the left, I could go 4, 3, 2. And then we graph. Okay, x is less than, so it's going to be an open dot. And I come up. I need a number less than 5, so I'm going to graph to the left. Alright, hopefully you're following that. I'll try it again on this one. Oh, before we start, I noticed right away my z is on the right side of the equal sign, or the inequality. So I'm going to flip everything. I'm still going to say z minus 1. I'm going to put 10 on the other side, but I'm going to take my inequality and flip it. So it's still, the point part still at the z, it's open towards the 10. Alright, this just makes it easier to solve for me. So, z minus 1 is less than or equal to 10. What is your answer? Alright, here's my work. Alright, we get z is less than or equal to 11. Now, to graph that, same thing. On my graph, I'm going to make this the number 11. And I'm going to go 12, 13, and 14. Hold on, pen's not working. Sorry about that, my pen quit working, so I had to plug it in. So anyways, we put 11 in the middle, and then we would go just 12, 13, and on the left side 10, 9, 8. I go to graph because it is less than or equal to. I will put a solid dot at 11, and I need a number less than 11, which means 8 is less, so I would graph towards the left side. Alright, one more. Y plus 2 is greater than or equal to 17. Go ahead and solve and try and graph it, and we'll just compare what we get. Alright, so hopefully you got y is greater than or equal to 15. And like I said, when I go to graph this, I'm going to put 15 in the middle. And then I'm going to go 16, 17, 14, 13. Just making a number line. It's just simple when I put the number I'm going to use in the middle. It's greater than or equal to, so that's a closed dot because it says equal to. And a number greater than 15 is 20. 20 would be found to the right. So our answers are 15 or anything larger. Alright, so that's the first step we did. Go ahead and let me know, how do you feel with solving the inequalities using addition or subtraction, or what questions do you have? Great, let's go to the next example. So in example 2, we are going to use just multiplying or dividing, so nothing changes. What I'm going to go ahead and do is, this first one says solve x over 5 divided by 2, or I'm sorry, is less than 2. So I know that means division, x divided by 5, but I'm going to rewrite this so I have a little room. So here's my rewrite. Alright, so I asked myself those same 3 questions. What's my variable? X. What is happening to x? I am dividing it by 5. What is the opposite of dividing 5? We can multiply each side. Sorry about that. We're going to multiply each side by 5. So when I do that, 5 and 5 simplify. If I'm multiplying by 5 and you divide by 5, you would get 1. So they cancel each other out. We're left with x. My inequality was less than. And 5 times 2 is 10. So that's my answer. X is less than 10. Now to graph it, I go to my number line. It's an open dot since it's only less than. And I need numbers less than 10. That is all our work. Alright, so we're going to go to the next one. And it says 4n is greater than or equal to 32. Okay, showing work. Okay, my variable is n. I am multiplying n by 4. So the opposite of multiplying by 4 is to divide each side by 4. The 4 divided by 4 is 1, so we're left with n greater than or equal to 32 divided by 4 is 8. So n is greater than or equal to 8 is our final answer. Now to graph it, I find the number 8, and it is a closed dot since it is or equals to. And then a number greater than 8, 17, that would be found to the right. So you know you graph right. Alright, let's have you guys try the next couple. So number 4, p divided by 3 is greater than or equal to 2. What would you get for an answer? Okay, here's my work. Because we divided by 3, I undo that by multiplying both sides by 3. We'd be left with p is greater than or equal to 6. Now to graph it, once again, 6 goes in the middle. And like I said, let's go by 2s this time. 6, 8, 10. Going left, 6, 4, 2. Doesn't really matter. Now, we're going to use a solid dot since it's or equal to. And I need a number greater than 6, so we would graph to the right. There we go. Hopefully you understood that. Let's go to number 5. Okay, once again, I notice right away my variable's on the right side. So I'm going to flip everything. So I'm going to put s over 7. Flip the inequality so it's open towards the s over 7 and put the 1 on the other side. Alright, I'm starting to show my work. How would you solve for s? Here's my work. So since we were dividing by 7, we undo that with multiplying by 7. 7s would cancel out. 7 divided by 7 is 1. So you're left with s is greater than 1 times 7 is 7. Go ahead and graph. We'll put this as 7. And maybe this time I can't buy 3s. Remember, it does not matter what you go by, just keep your scale consistent. If I went by 3s for every tick mark needs to be 3. Okay, s is greater than 7, so it's an open circle. And a number greater than 7 is 13, so I graph to the right. Alright, last one for you. 11x is less than or equal to 33. What do you think? Okay, here is my work. Okay, because we were timesing by 11, we divide each side by 11, and we get k is less than or equal to 3. Let's go ahead and graph it. I'm going to put 11 in the middle. Oh, I'm sorry, not 11. That's what I divided by. We're going to put 3 in the middle because that's my answer. And then I'm just going to go by, I don't care, 1s. 2, 1. Okay, k is less than or equal to 3 means a solid dot since it said or equal to. And a number less than 3 is 0, which is left, so we graph to the left. Alright, so that is it for example 2. Go ahead and drop me a quick line. How are you doing with multiplying and dividing to solve an inequality, or what questions do you still have for me? Alright, we got one example left, and this is the one a lot of people are having some troubles with. So this one is solving an inequality by using the reciprocal. Okay, it's when we have our variable times by a fraction. So I'm going to rewrite this one so I have a little bit of space. Alright, so I saw some people have some troubles with this on chapter 6 test. When I have a fraction times a variable, all we're going to do is take that fraction and we are going to multiply by the reciprocal. Now the long explanation why is, yeah, if we would have followed the process, I know I'm timesing by 2/3, and so the opposite of timesing by 2/3 is to divide by 2/3. But remember, we don't learn to divide by a fraction. when we divide by a fraction, we keep, change, flip. We change it to multiplying, and we flip it to 3 over 2. So I'm going to erase all that quick. Because of that, whenever you see you are multiplying by a fraction, to undo it, multiply by the reciprocal. I'm going to multiply by 3 over 2 on this side, which means on this side I also have to multiply by 3 over 2. Now, that causes just one little problem. Don't know why that changed blue, but 3 and 3 simplify, 2 and 2 simplify. We're left with x less than or equal to, and the thing is, my fraction is 3 over 2 times 4. Well, 4 is a whole number. Remember, to make any whole number a fraction, you put it over a 1. I saw a couple mistakes on the Chapter 6 test. Make sure we take a whole number and put it over 1. Then we can solve. 4 times 3 is 12. 1 times 2 is 2. And then we have to simplify our fraction. This is 12 divided by 2. 12 divided by 2 is 6. So 6 becomes our answer. Our final answer then is x is less than or equal to 6. Now, to graph, we're going to go over to 6. It's a solid dot because it was or equal to. And a number less than 6 goes left. Alright, let's have you guys try this. Now, the first one gives you a little bit of a trick, but I think you can handle it. Let's see what you get when you solve for m. It's 3/2 times m is greater than 1. Alright, here's my work. Alright, sorry, I know my handwriting's a little sloppy on this one, but you should get 3 over 2, I multiplied by 2/3. So I do that on both sides. So on the left side, you're left with m, still greater than. Now the number 1, we could have made it a fraction 1 over 1, but it essentially was 1 times 3 over 2, which is just 3 over 2. This is your answer. Now this is an improper fraction, but that's okay. We can leave it as an improper. Now to graph it, I know people have usually had some troubles, but we're not going to change anything. I'm going to make my middle line be 3 over 2. Now, this is where some people make mistakes. So my tick marks, I'm going to change only your numerator. Your denominator needs to stay the same. So 3 plus 1 is going to be 4 out of 2. 5 out of 2. Going left, it'd be 2 out of 2 or 1 out of 2. Now, could we simplify each one of those fractions? There's a couple. 4 over 2 is just 2 whole. 2 out of 2 is just 1 whole. So if you feel comfortable with that, you can do it. Otherwise, I'm okay with you doing this. Now, it's an open circle because it was only greater than. So open. And then what is a number greater than 3 over 2? Well, 4 over 2. So we know we would graph everything to the right. Alright, hopefully that one helps you. I know that one's a little trickier. This one should be a little bit better. I'll give you one little hint on this one. I'm going to change this to 6 over 1 right away for you. That might help you. And I'm sorry, my work. Alright, so 3/5 times q is less than or equal to 6 over 1. What would q equal? Alright, here's my work. Alright, since we had 3/5 q, I multiply by the reciprocal, 5/3. That cancels out on the left side, and we're left with just q is less than or equal to. And 6 over 1 times 5/3 is 30 over 3. Remember, fractions represent division, so 30 divided by 3 is 10, and we get the answer 10. Making our number line, I'm going to make this 10. Maybe this time I'm going to count by 5s. Just sounds more like landmark numbers. So then this is 5. This could be 0. Okay, we go to graph it. Q is less than or equal to 10. Less than or equal to is a solid dot. Less than 10 goes to the left. Alright, you guys have one problem left. And right away, I hope you notice that the variable is on the right. So go ahead and try and rewrite that. I'm going to do it. I would get 5t over 6, 5, and I'm going to flip that inequality. Since I flip my terms, I have to flip the inequality. And because we'll work with a fraction, I'm going to go ahead right away and make 5 over 1. Alright, let's see your work. What would you do for t? Here's my work. Alright, so we were multiplying by 5/6, so to undo it, we multiply by 6/5. Did that on both sides of the inequality, and we'd be left with t is less than, and 5 over 1 times 6 over 5 would give me 30 over 5. 30 over 5 means 30 divided by 5, and that equals 6. If we go ahead and graph, I'm going to use the number 6, and I'm just going to go by ones again. 7, 8, 5, 4. Okay. T is less than. Less than is only an open circle. And I need a number less than 6. Numbers left of that are less. So I graph left. Alright, that is it. Alright, so real quick. What questions do you have with multiplying by the reciprocal? Or are you really getting it? Alright, great job. Thank you for working hard. Make sure you do turn your notes in. And now you're going to go to Big Ideas and complete your homework. Have a great day, guys.